Why is porn free? Why is it so easily accessible? Who are the masterminds behind the mass exposure and accessibility to porn? How does porn affect us as males and females? Why do people get addicted to porn? How does porn benefits the founders of this evil trend? Why does the founders of porn wants to corrupt the minds of the youths and people in general? Something to think about. Why is it that something that should be the very most private act of engagement, sex, has become very accessible, not for a price, not for any type of negotiation, but just totally for free of cost conveniently as you want it? And most people would think that this is a good thing, because you get access to males and females' nakedness and intimacy easily, but think about it, why did they made it necessary that there's easy access to these kind of content? Please be reminded nothing worth having, or better yet, good things don't necessarily comes easily, so how can this free access to porn be of any good for us? What is it doing to us or for us? This isn't normal and shouldn't be. So without the porn industry we would not have this kind of privilege, or should I say corruption instead. Or what they made out to seems, as a form of luxury. One thing I know for sure, porn is great for distraction, and also good for stealing our childhood lifespan, and it is also good to keep us in our lower self. Our lower self is more human-like, more animal-like, and our higher self is more God-like. Please do not equate God to a specific religion, because you cannot. God and the devil are simply just spirits of nature, negative and positive energy. It has nothing to do with the way how we were taught about church and religion. We have been wrongfully misled. People get easily addicted to porn because number 1, we're weak-minded, number 2, we're being preyed upon for our sexual energy and attention, number 3, we've been misled badly, number 4. We lack knowledge. Most of us never asked ourselves this question: why is porn free? Who's in control of the vast majority of the industry? We never asked for porn, nor our parents did, so whose idea it was to make it so popular? Porn has now been extended to the regular, everyday people like me and you, now filming and posting their own sexual experiences, and they never asked themselves, how did I get here? And that's because we have been conditioned and brainwashed over time to accept life without questioning. Sex on a whole is deeply affectionate and is innately connected to our active receptor of our anatomy, which nature regulates from time to time, which causes us to become horny naturally. So we sometimes get addicted to this feeling, or in some cases, we get bored and want to feel a sense of excitement, which porn seems to foster a boost of dopamine rush. So people on a whole get caught up into the industry of low vibrational behavior due to the lack of knowledge of self and awareness about the damage we do to ourself when we vibrate on low frequencies. They don't want us to reach our God-kind self, they want us to remain as mankind. If you think I don't know what I'm talking about, just watch and listen how I tie it all together. Mankind is not necessarily what we look like, nor shape like, downright, nor upright. It is more of a state of being, a state of intelligence, within our capacity and capabilities to produce and achieve. Porn is just one out of the many other deceptive mechanisms that they've been using to keep us at our lower self. When we're at our lower self, we take onto things of the world much more willingly. Being at our lower self is being more relatable to the doings and the characteristics of demonic behavior. Being at our higher self is being like a God-like being. The most major difference in being a God-like being versus being a demon-like being is that a God-like being is one that is in control of most of the decisions he or she makes. A God-like being has control over the nature which embodies them, so they're not controlled by the urge of sex nor anything of the worldly things. Unlike a demon-like being is one who has little to no self-control. Their decision-making depends solely on how they feel, not of what is deemed ethical nor unethical. Listen carefully, a demon-like being is one who is being controlled by the evil nature which persists over their being, an entity of destruction who these individuals has given into, which is a part of nature. So when you're at your lower self, you're being ruled and controlled by your selfish nature and demonic, devilish desires. These urges takes control over you when you're at your lower self, but on the other hand, you take control over all unethical and immoral desires when you're at your higher self, your God-like self. Each and every time you get the desire to vibrate low, Quickly remind yourselves, no, 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 and say this to yourselves: I want to vibrate high like a god and not low like a demon. So they don't want us to reach our higher self, because if we do, we would gain too much knowledge of the world and self, then they wouldn't be able to control us like they now do. They literally give us the most expensive human desire for free, of cost, just so we can ruin our minds. So the founders of porn is obviously an ally of the entity which runs and governs the world we live in. And I said that because we all know that if the government was really against pornography being easily accessible, that would have changed 1,000 years ago. So obviously they're in with the pornographic method to trap as many of us into our lower self, which will always result into benefiting them. See, when we don't know or understand why a person or an entity is doing the things that they're doing, it makes no sense to us until we get to find out how it benefits them. That's when it all starts to make sense. These individuals or entities, they obviously knows way more than we do, so they tend to take advantage of us based upon our lack of knowledge. The less you know is the more an entity or an individual can mislead you. The more you know is the more your enemies will hate you, because they'll have less chance of misleading you. In this world that we're living in, they tend to mislead us from the truth of real knowledge, because that's the only way for them to always have the upper hand and the upper self, just to leave you and me at our lower self. The porn industry basically understands how the human biology operates, so they have preyed upon us. Whenever you understand the makeup of any mechanism, you will also understand how to manipulate it effortlessly, and this is what is being done to us. We're being highly manipulated, indirectly, and in some instances, directly, in ways that we cannot always see. So if you don't know or think you're being manipulated, it will continue to happen, and it will never stop, until you come to terms that you're actually being manipulated. Some people have been far manipulated to the point of no return. And I believe this is one of the most hurtful forms of deceptions. We must educate ourselves, we must unlearn and relearn so we can alter our perception and broaden our perspective so that we can start to take control and make better decisions in order to attain or reach what we call, or they call God, is the same as the word good, and is same as the word positive, and also same as greatness and same as higher self. Broadening our perspective is extremely important due to the fact that, with great transparency, we will understand clearly why to avoid low vibrational activities, such as porn and other deceptive mechanisms. Take ownership of your life. Don't allow life to take ownership over your existence. But be mindful, this is not a one-time fight, it's an everyday and every seconds, around-the-clock fight that you'll need to fight to remain at your higher self, your God self, which is the same as good self. In this form of being, you'll overcome all temptations, including porn. The fight is within our temptation, our urges, and our desires, alongside our moral compass. We must take control. Let me ask myself this question: why do we get full and free access to porn? Well, let me tell you, this porn is definitely not for free, even though we might think that we're not paying for it. Ha ha ha, hey ha. Again, we've been badly misled and misinformed. Our perspective of life is very slim, and this is by design. We get caught up in our minds to the point where we only see things one or two ways, so because we're not paying out of pocket for porn, that doesn't mean we're not paying for it. There are other forms of payment methods that is being used in the unseen world, which is the spiritual world or realms. We know nothing about the world we live in, and this is the root of the problem. Quick example, we use Wi-Fi and Bluetooth every day, yet these things cannot be seen with the naked eyes. But we can use our smart devices to detect and communicate with these metaphysical technologies like Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. Remote items on a whole is what I'm referring to. I mentioned these things to create a contrast between the physical world and the metaphysical world. You're feeding spirits when you vibrate low, when you get involved in things like pornography. You're being a slave to the entity because it takes control over you. It manipulates us in a way to make us desire these graphic images. So with that said, the demonic spirits are like Wi-Fi, which connects to us, the physical being, the physical playground. But there's a crucial difference which separates us from a simple Wi-Fi, and this is our conscious ability to deviate from things that are deemed immoral or unethical. I hope my explanation was transparent. What I explained was, so below, so above, so within, so without, so there's night, so there is day. So you can see me, so you cannot see me. This explanation is to help you understand that his world is multidimensional. Nothing about this existence is one way. And if you cannot come to terms with this, then you'll be left behind. Thanks for watching Transparent Outlook. We want to hear your thoughts on this subject matter. Let us know how you feel in the comment section. Do you agree or disagree, and why? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and follow us on all social media platforms for more Transparent Outlook. Hit the notification bell to be the first to get notified next time we upload our next video. Thanks, and see you next time.